So friends, District Attorney Fani Willis, who's been investigating the Georgia state election crimes of Donald Trump and company, was in court today. And she said a number of things, but two words in particular that she said signal exactly where her criminal investigation of Donald Trump is headed. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, are you like me? Are you good and ready to have Donald Trump held accountable for even just some of his crimes? Well, today in court, we heard a prosecutor say, in the most direct and concrete way to date, that criminal charges are coming. That prosecutor is Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney Fani Willis. And DA Willis has been quietly, aggressively, relentlessly, sort of sawing the justice wood in front of her, investigating the Georgia state election crimes of Donald Trump and his corrupt associates. And today, there was a court hearing. Let me set it up, and then we'll turn to some of the reporting about what District Attorney Fani Willis said in court today, and we're going to focus on two words in particular. But here's the setup. In Georgia, they have an unusual two grand jury system. One grand jury can hear evidence from willing witnesses who are amenable to coming in and testifying about what they know, and that grand jury can return indictments. They can vote out charges against people. However, if a grand jury needs to use its subpoena power to compel reluctant witnesses, difficult witnesses, combative witnesses, people who in the worst way do not want to appear before the grand jury and testify about the crimes of others, then the district attorney needs to ask the judge to impanel a special grand jury for that purpose. So for the last several months, Fani Willis has been quietly, systematically, and aggressively presenting those uncooperative witnesses to the special grand jury. We learned today that she presented 75 witnesses to the special grand jury, including people who desperately did not want to testify about the Georgia state election crimes of Donald Trump. People like Rudy Giuliani and Mike Flynn and Lindsey Graham, right? They all ran to court trying to avoid having to testify. Fani Willis beat every last one of them, and they all appeared before the special grand jury. That special grand jury recently concluded its work, and it issued a report. Now, that report is under seal. It's private. We don't know what's in it yet. But generally speaking, that report contains information about the evidence that the special grand jury developed and recommendations about whether that evidence supports bringing criminal charges, supports indicting people, and if so, who should be indicted. So some news media outlets brought suit to try to get that report made public, get it unsealed, throw it out in the public square so we can all see what the special grand jury found. And today there was a court hearing, and Fani Willis appeared as the prosecutor in that court hearing, and she was arguing to the judge that that report should absolutely not be made public. Not yet. Now, let me finish kind of the procedural aspect of where things are going from here, and then we'll turn to today's reporting about this court hearing. What will happen next is that report that was issued by the special grand jury will now be provided to the regular grand jury, the grand jury with the power to indict, and Fani Willis will either ask them to indict or not ask them to indict. That's the next step in the process. Now, against that backdrop, with all of that in mind, here is today's reporting from Reuters about the court hearing in Georgia. Headline, charging decision in Trump election case imminent. Georgia prosecutor says. And that article begins, "A Georgia prosecutor investigating Donald Trump's efforts to overturn his defeat in the state's 2020 presidential election told a judge on Tuesday that decisions on whether to bring criminal charges are, quote, imminent." Fani Willis, the Fulton County District Attorney, spoke at a hearing on whether to publicly release the final report from a special grand jury that spent months examining the Trump campaign's actions. She urged County Superior Court Judge Robert McBurney to keep the report secret for now, warning that future defendants could argue that unsealing the document hurt their right to a fair trial, among other concerns. Now, friends, before I talk about my two favorite words in that reporting, let me first quote precisely what DA Willis said in court today. She said, quote, "We think for future defendants to be treated fairly, it's not appropriate at this time to have this report released." And then DA Willis went on to say, "Decisions are imminent." And in the context of the discussion they were having, she was clearly talking about charging decisions. Charging decisions are, quote, imminent. Okay, you can probably guess what my two favorite words are. The first one, defendants, plural, not defendant singular, defendants, plural. Why is that such an important word for DA Willis to have chosen in explaining why she opposes the release of this report publicly at the moment? She said because it would be unfair to the defendants in the future. Boy, that word tells us a lot. Why? Well, if the special grand jury report concluded that there was insufficient evidence to charge anybody, or it recommended against charging people, there would be no defendants in the future. So that is a clear indication that the special grand jury in its report said there's enough evidence to charge, and here are the people, the defendants, we are recommending be charged. So yes, defendants is an important word, a word intentionally chosen by DA Willis to communicate where her investigation is headed. And friends, my second favorite word that DA Willis used, charging decisions are imminent. I mean, how long have we waited for accountability to come for Donald Trump for just some of his crimes? Many of them caught on audio recordings or video recordings, and yet it has been years and there has been no accountability. So yeah, the word imminent in connection with DA Willis's charging decisions sounds pretty good to me. Gets my justice juices flowing. Maybe it gets yours flowing as well. So the fact that charges are imminent, indictments are imminent, accountability is coming soon. We don't know if imminent means months, weeks, or days. It feels like, given everything we know about the length and scope of Fani Willis's investigation, imminent could be a matter of just a couple or a few weeks, but we don't yet know that. But what I do know, and I know in my bones as a former career prosecutor, is based on what we heard Fani Willis say today, the person who is in charge of the criminal investigation of Donald Trump's Georgia state election crimes. The Vegas odds just went up of Donald Trump being held accountable for the election crimes he inarguably committed in Georgia. So it feels like maybe at long last, at least for some of his crimes, justice is coming for Donald Trump. And justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.